Hello and welcome back for those who have joined me before. But those who are new, my name is Flutus Poston. I am a seasoned IT security professional and leader who enjoys taking time to share knowledge, tips, tricks, as well as how to properly mentor and use the human-centric side of our industry. So, as security leaders such as you and I, we face the evolving change in the threat landscape and the technologies that we use day in and day out. It's critical that we leverage the power of AI and automation to help enhance our defenses. However, we must do so in a human-centric way, keeping the needs and experiences of our teams and stakeholders at the forefront. During this presentation, we'll explore strategies for CISOs to increase business resiliency by thoroughly integrating AI, automation, and other innovations while ensuring the solutions are designed with the human factor in mind. The goal during this presentation and ultimately is to empower your organization to be better prepared and responsive to cyber risk without losing sight of the people who are essential to our security posture. So let's jump in now and unpack this topic. As cybersecurity professionals, we have a highly specialized knowledge beyond just the fundamentals. This specialized expertise can make it challenging to pivot or transition to new roles within inside of our field. Additionally, workers often lack proper coaching and guidance on how to navigate their career paths, thus leading to unclear succession plans, which are critical to providing cybersecurity professionals with options and a path forward to reduce burnout. So if you're like me and you've been in the field for a little while, you've either personally experienced burnout, you've worked with individuals who have resigned or changed careers due to burnout, and or are mentoring or coaching someone through burnout as you're listening to this presentation. So what is burnout? Burnout is a serious issue in our field. As the evidence by the image you can see here of stressed, exhausted, it applies to our field as cybersecurity professionals often work odd hours, work late into the evening, nights, weekends, may have to skip a loved one's dance recital or ball game to handle an incident. So, how do we address burnout? We need to make sure that we take time to properly document the specialized knowledge that we have and pass the torch to the next generation, which allows us to have career navigation. You may not have the aspiration to be a SOC analyst for 20 plus years. You may want to move from a SOC to an IR to a security architecture role and may even want to go into leadership. This is where succession planning is important. So take time today to talk with your leader and or mentor on ways to help make sure that you're staying flexible while addressing the needs of your cybersecurity role. So let's dive into a topic that many of us have had to talk to our board of advisors, stakeholders, and individual contributors on at some point in our career, which is the insider risk management, either from an accidental or disgruntled employee or the malicious insider. Many startups, when they're getting started, prioritize trust over strict controls, which can create cultural barriers to implementing insider risk management policies, thus making organizations struggle to consistently apply new security software, policies, and procedures across the entire organization once you've trusted the employee versus limiting their access. We'll talk more about that as we get deeper into the slide when we get to practical solutions. Next, when starting, budgets are tight. Resources for insider risk are likely not at the top of your list. You're likely just trying to get a laptop in their hands, an M365 tenant stood up so that they can send email, and you're getting them logged into a cloud provider to host their documentation, the software that you're developing, and you're allowing them to access from any device, not just the corporate device that you've issued them. Because you may have started with bring your own devices where they operated from their personal Mac or their iPad or their Surface tablet before you issued them a company device. The lack of employees makes it challenging to effectively address shadow IT and unsanctioned application use. So, for example, your marketing team may have purchased an application on a personal credit card and using it for work, or your IT team or R&D team spun up a cloud resource and put it directly on their corp card instead of going through procurement, which we'll talk about in a second. I've already alluded, many startups and mid-sized organizations don't restrict the content types that can be downloaded and accessed away from their corporate devices. As I mentioned, require all software and technology to go through procurement to help track and justify the use of the applications. Because shadow IT will happen and may be very costly when it comes time to patching and for exploiting your employees, as you may not be monitoring certain SaaS applications. So with this, think about how you can implement bite-sized chunks today to help create a positive insider threat management program with policies that meet their users where you're at, with the budgets that you have, while properly controlling and monitoring the use of SaaS applications and hardware within inside of your environment. So now we move into addressing the human element in security. As you can see, this slide outlines 4 key principles for managing human risk within inside of cybersecurity. The first one at the top is trust and training. Encourage people to trust and apply what they've learned inside of cybersecurity. Well, Fleetus, you're probably saying, why would they trust this instead of verify? You're, if you're properly training your employees on what the tools look like, what the error messages look like, the branding that you put on your applications, you have now enabled your employees to be an extension of your blue team. Because now they understand if they see something, they say something. They understand acceptable use of their laptop and assets. And you're encouraging them to teach others proper security hygiene. Next, build a no blame environment. Ensure that you create a space where people feel comfortable asking questions without fear and punishment. So, for example, you want your service desk and help desk to feel comfortable questioning why a user needs access to something, validating the individual before doing a password reset or resetting their MFA, their multi-factor authentication. Additionally, you want your developers to tell you if they accidentally approve a pull request that puts clear text secrets inside of GitLab or GitHub. You're wanting to build an environment where your employees are employees, not the security team and the end users. You want this to be my peers fell for the attack, my peers able to identify this, which leads me into the next pillar, personal security parallels. Help people connect work security practices to their own personal security experience. I tell people daily security starts as soon as you open your eyes and doesn't end until you lay down and close them at night. In reality, security never stops. Threat actors are still trying to exploit you and your organizations even while you're sleeping. So, for example, if you're like me, the first thing you pick up in the morning is your cell phone. You may have a notification on your phone asking you to acknowledge a push notification because someone was able to find your password leaked in a paste bin or a data dump, and they logged in and it sent a push notification to your phone. You're groggy, you haven't had your coffee yet, you just tried to swipe the notification away, but what did you do? You acknowledged it and you rolled back over and went back to sleep. You just gave the adversary unrestricted access to your account. Additionally, you're going to bed at night. It's 10 p.m. You get a phone call. Hey, mom, I'm locked away in prison. Can you wire money? Because I need to get out tonight so that I can come home. You may not know to hang up and call your son and find if he really is in prison because someone just spoofed his voice and pretended to be your son via voice cloning and deepfakes. These are things that we need to make sure all of our employees understand because security isn't just what we do at work. It needs to be ingrained in our daily activities. Additionally, make sure you have clear policies. Establish straightforward security procedures and policies. So, Fleetus, how do I do that? It means you need to get to know your business. Interview and observe how individuals do work. Because if you create a policy that impedes their work, they're going to circumvent it. We've all seen, or many of us have seen, the beautiful paved brick road with a dirt track where the users cut through it because it's quicker to go diagonal than it is to walk across the pristine brick paved pathway that you spent time and energy building. This applies to how we build our policies and procedures. Security is wrong, not the user, when a policy impedes the business. So make sure that you have properly understood your business before implementing organizational and enterprise-wide policies and procedures. The overall message here is that effectively managing human risk requires educating your users, your peers, your employees on appropriate security actions while fostering an environment that supports questions and learning. Remember, managing human risk requires educating people on appropriate actions while you're creating an environment where questions are encouraged and rewarded. To continue from the previous slide, we have to reduce security friction. This starts with open dialogue as it is key. Create channels for your colleagues to openly discuss security concerns without the fear of repercussions. Make sure you're identifying security champions across your different departments to help bridge gaps and communicate security best practices. You can do this by setting up roundtables, providing quick security moments that they can present during staff meetings, stand-ups, all-hands meetings, or departmental meetings to make sure that what you're training is being delivered in micro-learnings and timely. Make sure you're sharing knowledge that's applicable for the business, both personally and professionally. Make sure security engaging and is interactive. This could be through gamification, as this helps employees better retain and apply security knowledge. This could be sending out a poll to allow them to be entered into a raffle. This could be setting up a capture the flag event where your employees are having to look for clues that are embedded inside of your security policies and procedures that leads them to an article or a blog that you put out. Makes them navigate the organization to find information that they can present. This kills two birds with one stone. You've gamified learning because you've made it a competition, but you've also trained the employees and helped the employees know where to find their acceptable use policies or bring your own device policies or social media policies, etc., through this gamification process, thus helping them retain and deepen their security knowledge. Role-based playing games such as this allow employees to experience security scenarios firsthand. So doing a tabletop exercise where security awareness and security training is the focal point, and your injects or phishing emails, social engineering attacks, malicious downloads, finding a USB and do they plug it in, or having an employee call them requesting information to see if they give it away without properly verifying and following your security protocols. By doing all these things, you're helping break down the friction because many employees just see security as the team of no. A good friend of mine encouraged me many times to know your no. KNOW, know why you're saying no. As yes and no are complete sentences, it's better to say yes, you can, but you need to implement this within this time frame or this compensating control. No, you cannot, but yes, you can do this in the interim. You're giving them the ability to still continue working, as I shared in the previous slide, where security is wrong if we impede the business, but you're still putting risk controls and risk mitigation in place to help the organization maintain a security posture while working through the new onboarding of a piece of software or sharing with a third party because you haven't been able to completely finish the third party risk management. So keep open dialogue, build champions, gamify things through role play and scenarios to make sure your employees understand how they play a part in your organization's security posture. Next, let's address security fatigue. This can happen no matter if you've been just hired or you've been in the organization for decades. First, we'll start with the new hire. Security can be overwhelming to a new hire, either a college grad who this is their first job, someone transitioning from a different industry who are not used to the regulatory compliance checks that they need to do, which will generate additional load or questions to your help desk, to your leadership team, and it may impact your security operations center because they're getting false reports, giving them alert fatigue. Employees who are nearing retirement may disengage from security, failing to apply the training and or even participate in their exercises. So this is the other side of the coin. Now you have individuals who are choosing not to comply with their annual training. They're not reporting phishing attacks. They're clicking on links even though they know better. They're going out and downloading software from the web and using it when they know that they need to go through IT to properly download and host it for them so that it's patched. This all is due to the patterns of humans. We as humans are error prone. Unlike a computer who processes exactly what it was developed to do and it understands ones and zeros, you and I are emotional. We are vulnerable when we're happy and when we're sad. We can also be complacent and forget the training as we talked about the person nearing retirement. So with the patterns of human errors, this can indicate where security processes are causing fatigue. Monitoring these helps you improve your security posture, security training, security awareness, and tooling, thus balancing security needs with employee experience, which is critical to avoid burnout and maintain a posture that is healthy and secure for your organization. As we've talked about security fatigue and friction, and briefly about insider risk, it's important to think about the insider threats, as they are a major risk to our organizations that we must address. it's important that we think about how to effectively build an insider risk management program, as it requires a multi-pronged approach, starting with executive leadership. Executive involvement is critical. We need dedicated support from our senior leaders to drive this initiative. As anyone who's been around in leadership, if you don't have buy-in from your C-level, it's going to get stuck. It's going to get held up, as it's not going to get prioritized, as they're going to see that the leadership doesn't find this as a priority. So it's going to be put on the backlog, which leads me into the next point. It requires cross-department collaboration. You need buy-in from your human resource team, legal, and you need to make sure that everyone understands why you're doing this, what the risk is, and how they play a part in it, so that your senior leaders, middle management, and your individual contributors are coordinating these efforts. Your IT team needs to implement the right tools and technologies to make it as seamless as possible to your employees, so that your security team is enabled to have an effective risk management program, as it requires buy-in from legal on what you're tracking, from your risk management organization on what you're tackling from the risk register point of view, and your cyber team on how you're properly handling the data that you're capturing from your users. As we all sign acceptable use policies saying these are corporate devices, we are still monitoring what happens on these devices. So there's a privacy concerns. You need to make sure that your SOC and IT team are only looking at data because of an alert or a ticket, and not just freely looking up information. Thus, we need to deploy changes steadily to avoid overwhelming our users with rapid disruption changes. So, Fleetus, how and when do I decide to build an insider risk management program? I would start now. No matter the size of your organization, it can start with just simple policies that are tracked, all the way up to large enterprises who have multiple teams inside of IT, cyber, and legal who are monitoring from an HR and a cyber point of view. Think about how you can engage in a practice now that will secure and enable your team to be protected tomorrow. Now we're going to jump into a topic that we have been discussing for the last couple of years, and it showed up more prevalently in the recent Verizon data breach report, Mandiant report, and other security reports, which is AI's role in cybersecurity decision making. AI can handle repetitive security operations like threat monitoring, vulnerability scanning, incident response, freeing up human resources to focus on more complex and strategic security challenges. AI-powered knowledge management systems from ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., can provide security teams with instant access to a wealth of security information, best practices, threat intelligence, thus helping us as security leaders and practitioners make more informed decisions. AI-infused business productivities like Microsoft Copilot can streamline security workflows, automate routine tasks, and enhance collaboration, thus ultimately making security teams more efficient and effective. Additionally, AI-based code analysis tools used by platforms like GitHub and GitLab can identify security vulnerabilities in code during the development process, thus allowing developers to address issues before deployment, reducing time, friction, and cost, while reducing the risk of a cyber attack. So we've talked about a few things on this slide, such as automating tasks, knowledge distribution, business enablement, and secure coding. Each of these still require human intellect and intervention. AI is a tool in the toolbox and not the toolbox itself. So make sure that you're putting proper guardrails, policies and procedures, and checks and balances when using AI with inside of your cybersecurity team, especially when using it to make decisions. Let's transition a little bit to a topic that I think many of us don't think about when it comes to people, process, and technology. We are quick to be able to say we spend millions on technology, tens of thousands on policies, and hundreds to maybe 1,000 on the people. So I built out a little bit of a diagram from information I've pulled from a recent survey that I've done with CISO friends of mine and data I've collected from reports, again, Verizon Data, Breach Report, Mandiant, Sophos, and Gardner, Sands, etc., on how this balancing between human and technology investments. As you can see, technology investments have been steadily increasing, while human factor investments often lag behind. The slide shows that the current spending trends, with technology taking up approximately 85% of the security budget and the human factors less than 15%. Companies need to carefully consider the right balance between technology and human investments to maximize security, as it's important to look at security as a human-centric point of view. Some key human factor investments to consider is gamification programs, rewards and recognition systems, kudos programs to engage and motivate employees, spending money on training that's applicable, just in time, micro learnings, because investing in the human element is critical to the success of your organization, as people are a critical part of our security strategy and can be a powerful line of defense when properly trained and motivated. So think about this the next time it comes budget season. What are you spending on Sally and Joe to make sure that when they log into their corporate device on Monday morning, they are prepared to make appropriate decisions? Yes, we have depth and defense with technologies. We have administrative and technical policies and procedures in place, but it goes back to security starts with you and I, and human-centric security will make or break your organization. Another important topic that many of us are implementing, have implemented, or thinking about implementing is zero trust. So how do we communicate this outside of the four walls of IT security? In this slide, I want to cover 3 points on how to effectively communicate zero trust security to employees. You do not want to confuse your employees with an lexicon that means nothing to them. So first, we need to avoid using the term zero trust itself. You're asking why, Fleetus, as this is an industry accepted term. The reason I say zero trust is to a user who's not technical, when they see zero in trust, there's a negative connotation. Zero means there's no value, and trust is something that they have worked all their life to establish with their colleagues, their loved ones, and the communities they live in. So by using term zero in trust, it can damage the employee's trust and make them feel like they're being labeled as risk. Yes, we know already that humans are a risk to our organization, but it goes back to the lexicon of labeling them as risk. You've probably heard the employee is the weakest link. I don't like that term. I'd rather label them as the primary attack vector. That makes it more realistic and a more positive term. And so instead of focusing on explaining why behind the security measure. Help your users and employees understand the benefits and rationale, not just the requirement. Because least privilege and verify, then trust makes them less likely to fall for a phishing attack or social engineering attack or a drive-by attack. All terms, again, that we as IT securities understand. So make sure that you properly use terminologies that mean stuff to your employees. Additionally, partner with human resource and marketing to craft appropriate messages that will maintain a positive security culture, allowing your business to grow and have a culture that cultivates positive security mindset and enabling your business to grow while maintaining proper security. Continuing with some statistics, again, pulled from the recent Verizon Mandiant reports that I've alluded to a couple times in previous slides. Cybersecurity talent churn is a significant challenge, with hiring new employees costing up to 30% more than retaining your existing talent. From 2019 to 2024, salaries of CISOs and security experts have risen significantly, reflecting the high demand for our skill sets. Talent churn not only increases recruitment costs, but it also lowers overall productivity within inside of your cybersecurity team. Because when there's churn, that means you have to take time to onboard, bring them up to speed, get them access to the tools, and allow them to learn the environment in which they're securing and protecting. I looked and read additionally from the recent Gartner reports that emphasizes that programs must focus on compliance and risk management to address the professional stress that contributes to this churn, excuse me. So what that means is we need to make sure that we are giving our security teams the resources they need to be successful. We're enabling a work-life balance where appropriate. We're supporting their aspirations to grow and learn and be challenged. Because retaining skilled cybersecurity professionals is critical for maintaining an effective security posture and program and avoiding the high cost associated with retraining, rehiring. So programs must focus on addressing professional awareness, stress, and burnout, as we've talked about a couple times throughout this presentation. So take a moment today to thank your security teams for the work that they've done. Give them a reward. It could be food, it could be a day out, it could be just an attaboy or a gift card, just to show appreciation. And if your budget allows it, give them a half day for working an incident that lasted over a weekend or over a holiday. Reward them for their education, their knowledge, and their commitment to your organization, as it's cheaper to retain them than to replace them because they're burned out, overworked, or not properly being challenged in their current role. Now let's talk about embedding security as an ideology. Cybersecurity is not just about the technology that you use inside of your organization. It's a core value that needs to be driven from the top down. Employees are key stakeholders in security, not just obstacles to overcome. Help everyone understand how they contribute to the organization's security posture. Emphasize that they have education, intellect, trust, and your reliance on them to properly secure and maintain the organization. Cybersecurity is not about controls and policies. It's about creating a security-minded culture. Take time today to enforce that by reinforcing the importance of human-centric design and security within inside of your policies, procedures, and design ways for the human to be able to utilize technology of generative AI, automation, cloud, etc., to do their job effectively today, tomorrow, and in the future.